Let's go. I was born to kill it. I was meant to win. I am down and willing, so I will find a way. It took a minute, now it didn't happen right away. When it get hot in the kitchen, you decide to stay.
Welcome back to the Viking Podcast. We are joined by Andy Simpson from Precision Rifle Series UK, also known as PRS UK. Welcome, Andy. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you for joining us. And this is really just to find out about the phenomenon of PRS, which seems to be taking hold in the UK or significantly growing in size.
Yeah.
How have you seen PRS develop from your side?
It's grown fast. We started this, the whole start of it was back in pre-COVID was when it was sort of thought about, and we started getting the ball rolling, started doing a few different things, understanding what would happen. Then post-COVID is when we really started getting the ball rolling with things. We held our first match in August 2021. So that's not that long really after things were okayed again to be out. First match was August 2021. I think we had about 20 shooters there because it was obviously a brand new concept. We were meant to have more, but unfortunately we had to do a venue change and a few people then couldn't make it. But since then it's really grown exponentially. We've had matches topping out at 50, 60 shooters, 13 or 14 international shooters coming across from places like Italy, Spain, France. Italy, France, Belgium. We've had a chat from Norway come across this year. So it's grown, as I said, exponentially. And I'd like to think it's down to the hard work from the PRS team, myself, James and Trez, but also the fact that it's very big in the States, and we seem to follow the trends of the States. That's one of the biggest things. And we've also stayed in our lane. We've just focused purely on delivering what we can and making sure that it's absolutely the best at all times for the competitors that turn up. So all of that is the main reason why it's kind of grown into the phenomena that it is right now. There is other match organisers that have helped push it along the way as well. Without those, there's obviously growth that comes from them, and there's kind of a cross-pollination between other match organisers and ourselves. So that does happen. But yeah, without sounding a bit big-headed, we are what I refer to as the elite match organiser in the UK. And that's literally, as I said, down to the hard work of the team, staying in our lane and the natural growth of it all, really.
What made you set up PRS UK?
There's a little bit of boredom, actually. In fact, there was a previous match organizer that was doing things a certain way, and we felt that there was a gap in the market to do it our way. Myself and Trez were the original two that came up with the idea of starting it properly in the UK. There was a little bit of boredom in there, so we're like, yeah, what can we do to fill the time? We both started shooting precision rifle. We sort of met through another influencer called Pete Milan who does impact shooting in South Africa. And I know Pete, and it kind of spurred from that, really. We started going, well, what you're doing is nothing really. And then we started talking more about matches and wanting to attend them. And then we found the UK provider, felt that we could do it better. And then it went from there, basically. We just dove straight in, grabbed the bull by the horns and went for it that way, basically.
It sounds amazing. So it basically got sparked from just an idea, and now, you've got a significant following. And for those people who haven't come across PRS yet in the UK and are thinking, what is it? Can you describe what someone can expect if they go and watch a shoot or a competition? What's it going to be like for them?
Well, there's still quite a big education piece still missing on PRS in the UK, and we try and address it as much as we can, as often as we can, and we try and introduce people to the sport as often as we can. I did an interview at the last match when we had Viking there, and they had a film crew, and we did a bit of sort of a piece on it. Then we've done a few podcasts with some big podcast organizations, but there's still that lack of understanding, lack of education in the UK on exactly what the discipline is. So people have still got that little bit, oh, what is it? So if somebody was to turn up to a match, it would look like a bunch of grown men running around with rifles, basically. Okay, that's what it looks like from afar. But there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more technique, understanding, skill to what we do. It's in the simplest term, it's engaging targets at distance, which are 1 MOA to 2 MOA in size, which means anywhere between sort of 6 and 10 inches at distance, engaging them multiple times from different positions under a time constraint. That's the simplest form of putting it for people. So lots of movement, lots of engagement on targets, lots of thinking about wind, lots of understanding how your body makes the rifle move around, and having fun and being, and it sounds a little corny, but being safe is absolutely critical in what we do. But being sort of having fun with what you are doing on range is the biggest thing. But like I said, it does look like just a bunch of guys running around the state, around on a range with rifles, waving them around in the air. And when we first approached Pro Shoot, we had to kind of justify to them, look, we promise you, it's not just a bunch of loonies waving guns around. There is safety in this, and there is some real logic that goes to what we do. But yeah, overall, it's just great fun, engaging targets at distance, steel targets with match rifles, basically.
If someone wants to get involved and they're starting from scratch, do they need to have any training, and what kit is the kind of starter kit or basic kit that they'd need?
A rifle with an optic and understanding your data, so your dope. That's about it, basically. You don't have to have fancy rifles to be able to do what we do. We do have people turn up with their stalking rigs and have an absolute blast, and then all of a sudden you see them buying new rifles and new chassis systems and stuff because they got the bug. But you don't have to have any of that to be able to do it. People will turn up with a 223 rifle that they might just so happen go varmint shooting, foxing or something with. You get people turn up with a 243 that they go and go stalking with. And then there's that natural progression. But the biggest thing is to really believe that it's not as daunting as it looks. The community and the people involved are very, very, very friendly. Turn up with what you've got, and if you haven't got it, somebody in a squad will likely throw it at you to use. A barricade bag, a cuddle pillow, an extra magazine, whatever it might be, or an extra better bipod, or whatever it might be. You'll generally get it past you and say, there you go, have a go with that, no problem at all. So safe mentality, attitude to have fun, a rifle, which you know your data with, an optic that's dialable and that you can see clearly downrange. And that's it. That's literally all you need.
How much would that kind of starter kit set you back?
Depends what you go for, really, I suppose. If you go for just a typical off-the-shelf brand, you can pick up a package for, well, let's break it down. If you got a barreled action in any particular brand, it could be anywhere between £800 and £1,000. You can put that into a chassis for maybe £500-600, depending what you go for. You don't have to buy new. But that's if you start sort of going a little bit semi-custom. If you just buy something off the shelf, the deals are there to be had with a lot of retailers. And I know there's a lot of stockists that Viking deal with, for instance, and that put packages together. There's also new factory options, which are on the shelf as well. I know that Savage have just released the new 110 Precision, which is at the top end of what I consider a starter package, but it is available as a starter package, you know. But the cost is what you make it. I know that's I'm kind of not dodging the question, but the cost is what you make it. You can literally turn up with your stalking rifle that you've had for 15 years. And just as long as you've got an optic which is dialable, then you're away to the races. I would highly recommend a first focal plane optic, because that's obviously going to guarantee that your dope is what your dope is, depending, no matter what your magnification is. There's nothing worse than there was one shooter who was running second focal plane, and it made his job and his day less enjoyable because he had to think about what he's doing with his data a lot more, because with second focal plane, obviously your magnification is only true at certain your data is only true at certain magnification levels, so it makes it difficult to do. But as I said, it's as expensive as you make it. Is probably the best way to say it.
For people who they've got their kit, they know where they're going to go, as in they found a ground. I mean, how many places actually support PRS competitions, or where could people go to have a try and see if they enjoy it and then take it further?
It's slim pickings at the moment, unfortunately, in the UK, because it's still it's not, I wouldn't say it's early days in the establishment of the sport. We've been around this. We're going into our third full season next year. So it's finding a suitable match provider. So obviously we tell people to come along and just have a go. We try and put on a few matches a year, and a few practice or at least introductory weekends per year. We try to put those on. I do know that Pro Shoot have now got some club rifles, and they run club shoot days, bits and pieces. And the easiest way to sort of get into this thing is via 2.2 as well, 2.2 rimfire. It's PRS 22, which a lot of places do. But we are unfortunately at there isn't many places you can shoot PRS in the UK, unfortunately. You've got Pro Shoot, you've got Bisley, which is going to be running some stuff later this year. They're just about starting to adopt the PRS discipline. There's a few other match providers which do similar stuff. So it is slim pickings at the moment. The best thing I could advise is basically either get in touch with us, let us know where you are, what you're doing, and we can try and point you in the right direction, or speak to Pro Shoot, because they have good offerings either via us and our practice weekends, which we try and put on, or their 2.2 stuff, or their club shoots. They do have some PRS rifles there, which they've now started using, to my knowledge.
Fabulous. And I mean, that sounds like they come to you and they'll get directed where to go. I mean, do you need to be a big, burly, strong man to do PRS?
Absolutely not, no. One thing that we are absolutely crying out for right now is lady shooters. There is a few which turn up to matches, not as many as we'd like. There was more involved in the PRS, the precision rimfire stuff that happened this year at the World Championships. But lady shooters, we definitely want it more. But even that applies to guys as well. You don't have to be big burly bloke to run around with a rifle and shoot off a barricade and stuff. Not at all. I mean, my rifle, for instance, weighs 24 pounds, so that's quite a weight. But you don't have to make a rifle that weight. And it's just about getting involved. That's literally it. Anybody can do this sport. Doesn't matter how old you are, what gender you are, just rock up and have a go. That's literally what we're trying to promote at the moment. Just come have a go, because it'll be the best fun you've had with a rifle on range.
What's the scope? So you mentioned championships.
Yeah.
If people come along and they discover they enjoy it and they've got a talent, where can they progress their hobby? How quick is it to progress through to championship level, and what do they need to do to get there? So
there's a couple of areas of precision rifle in the UK. You've got what we do, which is precision rifle series. You've then got the GBPRA. Now, the GBPRA is the Great British Precision Rifle Association, and they run qualifier matches and use some of our PRS scores, okay, as a qualification league table for the Precision Rifle World Championships. Okay, so you've got the Precision Rifle World Championships, but you also have the Precision Rifle Series USA finale. Okay, so there's two main championships, which they're the big ones. You have the UK Championship, which is obviously ours. So we recently had our finale, and we had our top 5 shooters, and they're coming to the USA with us. They're coming to the USA with us in a week's time, actually. I don't know when this podcast will go out, but a week's time will be 1st of November, so we're off to the States to shoot the main finale over there. So that's all the top PRS Precision Rifle Series shooters in the world. Basically, they go over there. The IPRF World Championships is qualified shooters from disciplines all over the world, basically. It's all precision rifle disciplines, but it's all different organizations that set it up. So if you turn up and you find you're a dab hand at it, you can climb the tables very quickly. You can end up in a world championship position very fast. It just depends how good you are. We've had a couple of shooters that shot their full series with us this year, I want to say, and at least 2 or 3 of them went to the world championships for the rimfire stuff, and for the center fire stuff they finished really high within the series standings with us. So putting in the effort and the time, getting to a championship status is you can do it if you're a good shot, and the opportunities are there. Especially if this sport does become a recognised discipline in the UK, which they are trying to sort out at the moment. If that becomes more apparent, then there'll be more opportunities. I think that'll help grow things a lot more. But yeah, championships and winning matches and stuff is definitely there, and it's definitely achievable for those. Even if you come into the sport and you don't know a great deal, but if you all of a sudden, as I said, you're a dab hand and you start climbing the leaderboards, then yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there, definitely.
You mentioned a team that's going to be competing in the States in early November. Is that funded or is it self-funded? How do you get those shooters who have qualified over to the States?
So our series in the UK, we run 5 matches plus a finale, and our top 3 shooters, we cover their airfare to get to the States. They have to pay for their own ammunition and match fee, but we cover their airfare, basically. So that's the top 3. The top 5 in total, the 4th and 5th spot, they get an invite to go over to the States, but they're self-funded. But our top 3, we, as an organisation, Precision Rifle Series, we cover their flights. And this year, courtesy of a sponsor, half of their match fee has also been covered for that whole top 5. So we try and cover as much as possible. If the sport grows as much as we hope it will, you never know, maybe it'll end up being a lot more funded. But right now it's the top 3 which get their flights paid for, so that's obviously quite a big price anyway. But yeah, that's generally what we do for the moment. There's 5 of them plus myself and James, which is one of the chaps who runs PRS, because we get to go over there and shoot because we're match directors. We get an invite to go there and compete as well. But our top 5 will be going over there for that.
How do you think those 5 individuals will fare against the Americans, who this is in their DNA almost?
The level of shooter we have in the UK now, and I hope I don't end up eating my hat on this. The level of shooter that we have in the UK now is a lot higher than it was 12 months ago. We went over last year and did reasonably well. This year, I think we might upset quite a few Americans. I think, the standard is very high now. We've got shooters such as Joshua Martin, who is top shooter in the UK, basically. In the United Kingdom, he's top shooter. There's also Lawrence Barnes. He's one of the best shots in the UK. He's also the world champion factory shooter from the World Championships last year. So he won that. And they've got loads of accolades between them. We've got Joe Pask, who is obviously he's a Viking Field team member and Loophole sponsored shooter. He's also one of the top shots in the UK. So we've got a hell of a team going over there. And I think we might upset a few people this year, but it's give us just over a week, and when we come back, if we're crying into our cornflakes, you know why. But I think there's a good chance we're gonna we're going to do really well this year, definitely.
What are you most excited about with PRS and the future?
It's growth of this, really, because it's already, as I said, growing exponentially. We've got more and more people are getting involved. There's some exciting things happening in terms of European stuff. I won't say too much right now because there'll be announcements coming out. I don't know, as I said, I don't know when this podcast will air, but there's a lot of exciting stuff happening in terms of Europe and the ability to shoot for championship status for Europe. That's as much as I'll say. So there's a lot of stuff happening there. So and overall, the growth of the sport in the UK is it's like I said, it's growing at a rate of knots. We're constantly getting new people involved. We see, I want to say, between 2 and 3 new shooters at every match. So that's obviously they're brand new shooters that come up and turn up to a match and shoot and have an absolute blast. So the most exciting thing is to see just how big this gets. We're only a little island. We've only got a few places we can shoot, but there's a lot of people that want to get involved in this. It was only yesterday that I was speaking to the local constabulary and about some bits and pieces, and the firearms officers from there, they were very intrigued. They've heard of it, they know what's going on, and they were impressed at the growth and how things are happening. There's a lot of talk about the discipline even within the police and the firearms officers. They now know what it is. So when you get somebody ringing up and saying, "Oh, I want to be able to shoot a precision rifle," they kind of have an idea now, which from the start was part of our goal as well. We started getting people asking, "Oh, can we shoot precision rifle based on our firearms certificate?" So there was a bit of an education piece on that we had to go through and start speaking to firearms officers and explaining what it was. And it happens on target ranges, and they're all Home Office approved ranges, or they're official ranges, they're insured as ranges, etc., etc. So the overall growth in the UK, if it carries on doing it the way it is now, I think we'll be seeing 100 shooters at each match next year by the end of next year, if it carries on doing what it's going to do, and with this introduction of the European stuff, which is very exciting.
Going back to your point on licensing, how long is it taking if people want to get into PRS? How long is it taking them to get their firearms certificate?
Sore subject in the UK at the moment, I think. So most of the people listening to this podcast, they're either going to be a stalker or a hunter or already have a firearms certificate already. So they're okay. They can put a variation if they don't have a target condition or an open license or already part of a Home Office approved club or the many ways that you can get involved. For new shooters or new people that want to get involved, I mean, unfortunately, I've heard horror stories of like 2-year waits, which is a real shame. I know. I want to say I won't name any constabularies. Actually, I know that one is at least 2 years. I know sometimes variations are taking between 6 and 8 months. So unfortunately, the UK is not in a great position for new applications and new shooters. But I'd like to think that'll get better. I think we're still very much in a hangover from COVID. Backlog of paperwork issues, systems problems. Some constabularies are running things a lot faster than others. I think the best advice I could give is to basically pick up the phone and speak to your firearms office and find out what the process is and see how long, if there is any wait, or what it would be and what you can do to speed up the process, because a lot of people will put applications in and they'll get a response back from the firearms office and they go, "Well, what do you want that for?" And then they don't quite understand what they should be selling them or what it might be. So do your research, give as much information as possible onto your application, speak to the right people, give us a call. If you're looking to get into PRS and you don't have a license, or you need to make a variation, or you want to get involved in precision rifle in one way or another, just give us a shout. I'm more than happy to answer questions on email or whatever. Drop us a line, we can give you a call and help you understand the process of it. It's just, we can try and make it a bit less painless because, as I said to you, unfortunately, we're not in the best position for for new applications and stuff in the UK. It's hopefully it'll get better, but yeah, we'll see how that picture pans out.
Going from one L to another L, what is the kind of standpoint or future of PRS when it comes to non-lead ammunition?
Right now, we don't know, is the honest answer. The legislations that they're trying to put in place, or the thing is, they're not even official legislation yet, or it's proposals, and there's still it's still not smoke and mirrors, but there's still grey lines here and very black and white. It's not in black and white. It's very there's nothing official, so we know that something's going to change. It's likely going to be the range facilities that will have to make the changes, not us. If they're you, for instance, I think there will be a case where rangers will have to have catch boxes behind every single target and have to get rid of the lead and bits and pieces. Right now, it's a big unknown. It's still a good few years off, and hopefully as it progresses, we can work out more and more. The problem is that monolithic rounds, they're not really, you struggle to find a range where you're allowed to use them. So that makes it quite difficult. But as soon as we know more, we'll advise and let people know as well. That's literally all we can do. And as soon as the government give anything official, we can work that out.
I think that's a really honest answer about lead, because it feels that there's a lot of unknowns coming. And I guess that's all that people can do is keep listening and keep reacting to the consultations that are put out there for shooters and have their voices heard.
Yeah, that's literally it. There needs to be a positive reaction from people in the community, that in the shooting community. I mean, the more people that react to it, the better. I think there was a survey which went round about, I want to say 4 months ago maybe, and I think there was a good response to that. But it is literally a case of, until we get more information, we don't know. That's literally all it is. And until anything happens, we'll continue to send them downrange and have fun, basically.
Going from the unknown to the known, if people want to take up PRS and begin at the beginning so they can progress through the matches, how does the season work?
We tend to run matches from February to October. That's to try and avoid kind of a rainy period in February. I mean, that doesn't mean you won't get it in April or even June, but we run matches and we try to have at least one payday between each match. And that's just purely because we know that it's not a cheap sport, So we'll have, I think this year or next year, it's going to be February, April, June, August, October. I think that's the match calendar for next year. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the exact dates, but they will be published on the PRS website probably tomorrow, actually, which will be Friday, the end of October. So there's 6 matches throughout the year, 5 main matches, and then the finale is the 6th match, which is in October. So it's just a case of turn up to however many matches you want to turn up to, really. You don't have to be a member to shoot the first couple of matches, because we understand that it might not be something you feel like you're going to get involved in. You might turn up and go, actually, you know what, it's not for me. But your first 2 matches, we don't expect you to have membership. But after that, it's £30 membership fee per year, which is it's very little amount, really. It works out as less than a £5 a match if you do. Well, it's actually a £5 a match if you do all 6 matches. But yeah, February to October, and we try and split them as much as we can to make sure they're affordable for the shooters.
That sounds brilliant. And what I haven't asked you is, what's in your kit? What do you shoot with?
My kit, well, it's actually just about to change. Up until recently, I had a 6mm dasher, which is a 6mm cartridge, but I've just changed. It's literally being chambered by JR Firearms right now. It's a 25 Creedmoor, so it's a 25 caliber Creedmoor in an MDT ACC chassis, which is very similar to the 110 Precision that Savage do, and it's got a Leupold Mark V HD on top. Since I moved to Leupold, I found that my scores were dramatically increased. It's just I get on with that optic very, very well. So yes, I run a bat machine action with a proof barrel in an MDT ACC with a Loophole Mark V HD on top of it, and it's got an MDT Skypod bipod on there as well. So,
What made you switch to Leupold, and what are you mentioned that it's kind of improved your game. What do you think that's down to?
So the opportunity came up to become part of Team Leupold. I'm a Team Leupold sponsored shooter now. Leupold as a brand aligns itself better with my ambitions, but in terms of the actual optic itself, compared to the optic I used to run, the ergonomics of the optic, the way it feels, the clicks, turrets, the reticle itself, all work better with the way that I shoot. That's the main thing. Optics are subjective to the user. 3 different people could get behind the same optic, and one person will go, "Oh, I don't like it," and the other 2 could like it, or vice versa. I've found that the Leupold makes a big difference in the way that I think about my shooting. That's the biggest difference. I don't have to think about where I'm looking at on the reticle. I don't have to think about the ergonomics of it when I'm changing my parallax. I don't have to think about stuff when I'm changing my elevation turret on top. It's just very suited to the way that I shoot. That's the biggest difference. The glass, excellent glass. I can see everything I need to do downrange, and I can see impacts or misses depending on the distance as well. Overall, it's just a better optic for me as a shooter. And as I said, the opportunity came up and I jumped at it with both arms and went straight on board as quick as I could. But yeah, as a brand and an optic, definitely better suited to the way I shoot.
That's really interesting to hear, because I think when I looked at the results from the last PRS match, I think it was dominated by shooters who were using Leupold scopes.
There was definitely a few in there, yeah. I want to say, I think 8 Leupold optics inside the top 20, perhaps.
Yeah, it was something like that. Which
I think 8.
It'll be interesting if it catches, if it catches on the week. Kind of everyone.
Yeah, I mean, shooters I can think off the top of my head: myself, Joe Pask, Steve Shorter, Adam Farwell. Who else was there? Paul Calvert was running that as well. That's 5 just off the top of my head, and they were all inside the top 20. I know that much. Definitely, they were inside the top 20. Others I couldn't tell you. I can't remember the results that well, unfortunately.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, I think it's really exciting, and just to kind of wrap up, for people listening, what's the website address that people need to go to, or how can they reach out to you?
So if you best thing to do is generally social media. Just search for Precision Rifle Series United Kingdom on Facebook, or Precision Rifle Series UK on Instagram. They're the 2 main channels that we always get most of our traffic through. The website is www.precisionrifleseries-uk.com. We couldn't get the precisionrifleseries.co.uk domain name, unfortunately, when we first set up. But yeah, that's the 3 main things to go for. Normally, Facebook is the way forward because it links directly through to either myself or James. And if you can't get hold of us, any of the guys that shoot PRS, most of them we know quite personally, so just give them a shout and they'll give one of us a nudge if we haven't answered you in time. That's normally the way. It's probably quite important to point out that PRS isn't any of our full-time jobs. We all work full-time in the day, and what we do with PRS is completely voluntary. We don't get any benefits or anything out of it. All the money that's made in PRS goes straight back into it. So like a full-time job on top of a full-time job. So if we don't answer you quickly, that's the only reason why. We're not ignoring you, promise.
And if people are listening, then they need to get involved, because we need to turn this into a full-time job for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't mind doing this full-time, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I'll let you go because you've probably got some packing to do for your big States adventure, and the best of luck with that. And it would be great to catch up with you when you come back, just to hear
no problem at all.
how you're on.
Yeah, I'll but we'll have a chat when I get back. Joe Pask will be there as well, so perhaps we could get all three of us on a call. It'd be a good one for a debrief, actually. But yeah, look forward to speaking to you then. I'll get all my stuff packed and see how we get on, and see if I do come back to eat my hat and saying we're going to beat the Americans.
Well, I think everyone is rooting for Team UK. So
yeah, I think they will be. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this podcast.
No problem at all. Brilliant.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. Cheers.